everyone, so I have had a really busy week and I haven't really had time to do a proper video, so I'm going to quickly just do one now even though it's like 7 o'clock at night and I've got a ton of other things to do, so hopefully I should get the editing done and I should be posting this, and I guess hopefully for tomorrow, but you're going to be watching it whenever I watch it, so I don't really know why I'm doing this introduction. Basically, I didn't have anything planned for this video either, so I pretty much just put a post on Tumblr asking people to kind of say what books that I own that they want me to talk more about, and so I've got a list of 5 books that I have gotten from people who have suggested to me, which I will name the bloggers, which are through Tumblr, and then talk about the books a bit more. I'm actually really excited to do this video because all the books that are recommended from people are ones that I have really enjoyed reading, so it's going to make it really easy to talk about them. The first book was suggested from The Booker, and I'm pretty sure you can all guess what book it is, which is The Book Thief. So this is Becky's favourite book, and it is also coincidentally my favourite book with my favourite author. This is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, which is an amazing historical fiction read. It is featured around a young girl called Liesel Memminger, and she goes to a foster home in Germany in 1939, which is around the Nazi kind of time and everything like that. And pretty much the foster family she's with takes in a Jewish fist fighter, and their lives pretty much unfold from there. So Liesel in this is she steals books and everything like that, and pretty much it's her journey through these harsh times and the way that she sees the world. It has a really good narrative, like narrator perspective in this book, and that's what I absolutely loved about this. It is also a movie now, so pretty much if you don't want to read this book, even though I totally recommend it because it is super amazing and literally my favourite book in the world, you can always watch the movie. So the next book was suggested by Silence Surrounded by Stars. It is the second in a series, and it is Dragonfly and Amber, which is the second book in the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon. The thing that I found with the Outlander series is that none of the other books are as great as the first one. They slowly keep going down in levels of greatness, but in saying that, there's nothing greater than reading about Claire and Jamie's relationship. So I still enjoyed the books, although it progressively got less and less the more that I read the series. So Dragonfly and Amber as the second one, I still really and thoroughly enjoyed it. One thing I do have to point out though is that when I started this book, I literally put it down, checked on Goodreads, asked a few people because it did not seem like it was a carry-on from the first book. But get through the start of this and sure enough you will find your place again in where the old one finished. So yeah, if you stick it through, it's really good. I don't know if it really counts as spoiling the book or anything like that, but at the beginning of this book, Claire ends up telling her now granddaughter Brianna about Jamie, who is the father of the child, at the end of the first book, and she pretty much ends up convincing her mum to go back in time to be with Jamie because it is the love of her life. And so Claire goes back through the stones and she's back with Jamie, but then something happens with her daughter, and her daughter ends up going through the stones as well. And it's pretty much like a huge shock because you're following the different stories of everyone. So you're happy one moment when you're reading about Claire and Jamie, and the next second you're going to their daughter who's just trying to find her parents in this foreign land and time that she has no idea about. It is pretty action-packed and still heartbreaking as the first book. But as I said, it's not as great as the first one, but it's still really good. So the next book was done by Anonymous, and that was the Grisha trilogy. So this is the first book in the series, which is Shadow and Bone, and that'll represent the trilogy series. And this one is by Leigh Bardugo. I bought this series because I saw a lot of people raving about it on Tumblr. Then I actually saw what the books looked like and I thought they were absolutely gorgeous, so I decided to pick them up because they also had a map in them, which is really cool. And I took a while before I started the book because I did try it once and I got slightly confused by all the different names, and then I thoroughly studied this list of the Grisha army in here, and then I started to understand the book a little bit more, and surely enough I seem to fall in love with it pretty quickly. It is a fantasy book which has like powers and everything like that, and the world building in it was absolutely amazing. So it is about the main girl, who is Alina, and she is an orphan who is now in the war with her best friend Mal, and one day they are all on a convoy that gets attacked, and Alina finds out that she's got some pretty amazing powers, and so her life is pretty much thrown around and everything changes for her suddenly, and it's pretty much just her trying to cope with finding out that she's got this bright new future ahead of her. But obviously nothing can be as easy as it seems. This one is another one of my favourite series, and I find that it is quite underrated, even though a few people do know about it, but I feel like it should be more well known. So this one was suggested by the Subtle Geek, who wanted to know more about the series, and that is The Enemy by Charlie Higson. So this is a brutal young adult post-apocalyptic zombie book, and pretty much if that doesn't sell it, then I don't know what's going to, but yeah, it is seriously a really great read. What I found in this book that really got me the most is that you will be surprised. You'd think that main characters would be safe, but they're never safe. It's realistic in the way that shit happens, and it happens so quickly and people have to get over it, and it's just heartbreaking and wrecking, and like I said, it's just completely brutal. The rest of the series is so good as well. So I did find that the books tend to repeat themselves a little bit, but the last 2 books in the series that are out so far, there's still 1 more to come out, they completely destroyed me. I was reading them thinking that things were gonna be okay, and then at the end there's this huge plot twist and it's not okay. Things are not okay. So the twist with this book when it comes to zombies is that it's everyone over the age of 14 that turn into zombies. So I mean, if a kid was 13 when the sickness happened, he was fine, and then if he turned 14 and 15, he was still human. He didn't turn into a zombie suddenly after that. But it is basically, this first book is about a group of kids who pretty much live in a supermarket, and they find this kid comes to them, and he's pretty much saying, you know, we've got to go to Buckingham Palace, it's a safe place there, like all the kids are good and you pretty much survive better than you are in the supermarket. So the group of kids decide to trek it to the supermarket, and basically a lot of things happen, a lot of people die, and when they get there, well, is it exactly what they're after? This last book was suggested by Art Books Life, and that is Solitaire by Alice Oseman. This book is also one of my friends Rachel's, who is Negative Pessimist's favourite book, and when I read it I can see exactly why it's her favourite book. The main protagonist in this book is Tori Springs, and she's a very human person. She is very real, her friends are very real, her situation is very real, and her life is very real, and that's really good because it makes her a more relatable character, which is one of the reasons why I really enjoyed the story in the first place, is because I can see a little bit of myself in Tori. So this is a contemporary novel. It's also Alice Oseman's debut novel, and basically she's amazing. Like, I loved her writing stuff from the very beginning. It's just captivating and intriguing, and she does it really well. So yeah, if you like contemporary books, I definitely recommend reading this one. There's also one more bonus book towards the end, which was suggested by my ambitions as a writer, and that was, if I had to remove 1 book off my bookshelf, what would it be? So if it was any book in this whole library, it would probably be 50 Shades of Grey, but that is my mum's book. So if it was any book that I had bought for myself, it would have to be The Edge of Nowhere by Elizabeth George. There's nothing hugely wrong with this book, okay? So I was looking at it for quite a while on the shelves at the bookstore, and the storyline kind of intrigued me a little bit, but it did take a few trips before I decided to pick it up. And when I decided to read it, I actually hated it. This book is so descriptive, way too descriptive for its own good. So descriptive, in fact, she was too busy talking about the trees to notice that the character was walking in a direction to find out why someone was murdered, but you didn't find out until the very end because she was too busy describing everything else. The storyline sounded kind of promising, the characters sounded kind of promising, but from the very beginning to the very middle where I finished reading, because I couldn't even finish this book, she just talked too much. It was so descriptive. Thank you for watching, and thank you to everyone who also left suggestions for me, and pretty much happy reading, everyone. Also, I want to say that I have reached 20,000 followers on my Tumblr blog, so I will drink to that.